Rudy, I'm going to let you totally lead this here. I have a feeling I know the way that we're going to start this call, and my guess is with wins.
Um, oh, okay. We're doing wins? No, I'm just kidding. Uh, absolutely. Yeah, let's hear it, everybody. What wins are we having this week? I got one in mind I want to brag about here in a minute, but I'm going to give you guys the floor first. Let's hear it. Any good wins, personal wins, business wins? Go
I got
for
a
it.
cool, unique one that's never happened here in
Ooh,
the 3 years. We I took kind of a gamble on bringing an intern in. She reached out, did 2 years in interior design school in a college about 3 hours away, and come to find out she lives only about 20 minutes away from our shop, and she needed to do 192 hours of internship to get her degree in interior design. So I thought, I kind of questioned her a little bit on, are you willing to serve anywhere? I'll bring you in for the internship if you're willing to just do more than interior design here. And she totally understood that. She was taught correctly. She did her 192 hours and we hired her on full time. So that was pretty neat
wow.
to see how that all evolved. Never,
Yes.
never really hired anyone that way before. So
Wow.
that
Yes.
was pretty neat. And
Super exciting. And what an asset. What a unique value add to be able to add to your company.
it is from the standpoint of there's been so many things we wanted to do around here and bringing, she's young, she's right out of college, and she's just a sponge to where it's like she can remember anything. She's in learning mode, and it's just great because, I foresee a long-term future with her, and we can teach her the way that we want things done right, really no bad habits, right? So we feel like that's a great win, and we've already implemented. I tasked her with two really monumental tasks from the standpoint of where we got our entire sales floor, over 10,000 SKUs on our sales floor. And to know the price of any of those SKUs, we have to go back and look it up online, what things cost. We just implemented a software where we can QR code everything on the sales floor. Most people don't do this. I mean, really, most floor stores do not price their sales floor because it's just too much work. Well, I tasked her with that task and she's just crushing it. She set up all the software. I gave her what she needed from the standpoint, bought her an iPad, bought her the QR code printer, and she developed and imported all the software. And it's fun just
That's
to see
awesome.
someone take off with it. So that's our big win.
Yes.
Come on, yeah.
That's awesome.
Being coachable and tenacious goes a long way. If you have the attitude, if I'm going to be coachable and I'm going to get things done, it's amazing what you can achieve. So very excited for you, Brent. Any other wins that we want to celebrate here? I know I'm hearing wins from clients, so I have a feeling that we have them. Don't be shy on us.
Well,
I'll jump in real quick. We joined on with you guys and didn't have any Google local services or any really reviews or anything up and running. Wanted to get the phone ringing, followed through, we're up to like 30 plus reviews on our profile. Google local services got verified, finally got the green check mark. We started getting our first couple calls, and in the last 2 weeks, I had 7 legitimate leads, not only from Google local services, but from Google organic, my business listing. And I just got out 5 estimates in like the last four days. So
that is so exciting.
Closing them is a whole nother thing, but the activity is there.
Yes. Talk about tenacious. We know
right.
that getting approved on Google My Business, getting approved on Google Local Services, every single person on this call, I think, has been there, whether they're in that process right now or have been through it. It can be challenging, but you're already reaping the rewards. You're already seeing, even though it might have been a pain, it's going to be fruitful for you.
Justin, I was hoping you were gonna unmute, but I gave you enough time. We just gotta do it now. You told me a little win last time I thought was huge, and you know, I know it's no one's tired of hearing it. Just tell me what you told me yesterday.
I forget, but a lot of
I'll embellish it after you're done.
I haven't needed home advisor for the last 2 weeks, and that's saving about $2,000 a month. And now I am desperately looking to hire help, and getting 2, maybe even 3 organic leads a day. And that's more than I can handle. So
Wow.
thank you.
Come on.
Woo!
That is huge. You know,
That is
Google
huge.
reviews. And
And that-
and I'm number 1 in the area. So for door and
Come on.
the Atlanta area, a huge area.
and
That is
nobody
awesome.
and there's not even really anybody close either. That's the the cool part.
I thought I was gonna have to embellish it, but there's no room for that. Yeah, that's incredible.
that.
You know, I think I mean you gave some good details there, but the emphasis on having to use Home Advisor to just turning it off and being more than busy. And now we're off to hiring, so it's a fun journey.
Yes. Okay. Well, we love the wins. If you have any wins that you didn't want to unmute for, we'd love for you to put them in the chat or tell your coach. But Rudy, I think we're ready to rock and roll here.
All right. I'm going to share my screen as usual. So I hope you're all prepared today. Some of you came onto this call, saw the topic, and you're like, oh my, this is going to be intense. So we're going to go in deep territory today. And so we're going to dive into, you know, a little bit more of a mindset approach, you know, not our typical practical, well, it's very practical, but system business, no templates here. But this will be just as applicable to your business as it is to your life. This is very, very important here. So, you know, who finds it easier to run a business when life outside of the business is going well? Yeah, thank you, Brent. Justin's nod. Bryce even, man, I see about 5 people on their screen and they all did something here. So, and vice versa, you know, who finds it easier to be more stress-free, you know, when the business is running smoothly? Yeah, there you go. Thank you so much. It's everything. So here's a forewarning. If you need to, you know, shed a tear or two during the call, discreetly, you know, shut your camera off. That's okay. I won't question you. No, but we're gonna get, it's gonna get intense here, and it's gonna be pretty deep. So let's get after it. First thing I want to talk about here, just a kind of introduction to this topic, because I know with business, without tools and, you know, Google review, you know, massive practical change in systems, sometimes you can forget that, hey, mindset is essential to business. In fact, your mindset is critical to the results in your business. The way you react, the way you approach things, the way you deal with challenges that show up in your business has everything to do with the way you make it on the other side. Whether you make it on the other side, you know, who you become on the other side of that challenge. Great quote by Henry Ford. I think we've all heard this a million times. So I didn't create its own slide for it, but just in my notes here, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that's a businessman, Henry Ford. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. He's saying there, your mindset has everything to do with the success and the results that you get. What's important with that as well is that it's also critical to your fulfillment in your business and your personal life. In some ways we talk about the separation of, business and personal life, but you spend your whole life working on your business and then suddenly we're going to act like it's not part of your life. That's ridiculous. Your business, your personal life, they're intertwined very closely. They're one and the same. So we've got to pay attention to everything in your life because it affects everything. So your business, personal life, they go hand in hand. They directly affect each other. Now, fulfillment, what is it? It's achieving a sense of satisfaction, meaning. It's not just, surface level happiness in the moment. You can be happy or you can be fulfilled in the midst of difficult situations. There's a difference there. You're not happy in difficult situations, yet you can be fulfilled. So I'll choose fulfillment over happiness any day. And here's a question I have for you. And honestly, we have a lot of content to go through. I don't know what I was thinking. I was passionate about this one. But I think a quick 5-second answer from one or two of you. Is it worth building a business your entire life and then end up with zero fulfillment? One of you on mute. I want to hear you. Yes, no, what are you thinking?
No.
Absolutely not.
Love it. I saw a few head shakes and everything. Absolutely not. So why don't we take some time, at least one call here, to really think about, okay, this thing I'm spending all my time on, am I doing it the way I really want to, the way it's going to affect the rest of my life? So what is this really all about? Regrets. Regrets will steal your fulfillment. One way I like to describe fulfillment is not having any regrets. I'm not talking about, I wish I didn't take that route to the job site today because of that traffic jam kind of regret. I'm talking about deep regrets, real regrets, regrets of inaction over the course of your life. Regrets will rob your fulfillment and joy in your life. So it really all comes down to living a life without regrets is one way I want to really hone in on today. Regardless of your net worth, your failures, your achievements, we come to the end of our life and truthfully say, I lived a good life. I really don't have any regrets. I mean, you've made it. If you can say that, you've made it. That's a good feeling. I want to be able to say that if I have a chance to utter that on my last breath. I don't know. But, here's the next question is, how can we learn from those who've gone before us? What are the most common regrets people have at the end of their life? Well, turns out there's a book on it. Top 5 regrets of the dying. I told you we're going deep today. Bronnie Ware wrote the book Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. Before she wrote this book, she was a palliative care nurse who took care of patients who were terminally ill. They were dying, if you haven't noticed that. And so long story short here, she started to get curious and asked her patients if they had any regrets at the end of their life. She's like, I may as well start learning from this. I may as well have these conversations with my patients. Turns out a large majority of them had regrets at the end of their life. Not all, but most of them did. She gathered data from over 800 patients on what their dying regrets were and grouped them into 5 main themes. Are we ready for this? Okay. Sometimes I wish it was a live audience just so I could hear more of the yeses and the nos and even the sighs, like I'm bored. But we're gonna plow through this.
You got it. You got it.
Yes, there we go. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's someone who's in sports or maybe just a passionate person. Either way, I love it. Okay, so here it is. Regret number 1. This is deep. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life others expected of me. Well, I'm gonna plow through these real quick, and then we're gonna get deep in these and how they apply to your business. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Oh shoot. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. I wish I had let myself be happier. This is all a lot, but it's really, really good. If you want to go back and read the book, I haven't actually read it. That's never mind. We're going off tangent here. I've read about it in a different book. That's the long story short. This we're gonna get deep into this right now. So here's the first regret. Let's go deeper on this. Regret number 1. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expect of me. One thing I like to say here, I'm not, is a life of passion here is living a life true to yourself. Have you ever seen someone very passionate about everything in their life and then just feel like, you know what? I wasn't true to myself. No. Let's make this really simple. A life of passion really correlates to a life true to yourself, really getting after it. The more passionate you are into something, the more you're living a life true to yourself. So I'm not talking about, chase your passions and climb Mount Everest. I mean, if that really is your passion, that's okay. But, I'm not talking about the cute, just vague passion. I'm talking about embracing your values. We all have values. I'm talking about living a life of intensity, a life that, may not change the world, for being realistic here, but that definitely changes the world of the people you encounter. I came up with that myself. You can quote me on that. No, that's what's important here is when someone encounters you, man, that guy's intense. This guy's passionate. So one thing I like to say is we've got to start looking for and finding what truly excites you. What gets you up in the morning? And begin to start thinking, how can we align my business with it? And I'm not saying it's like, well, I'm really passionate about X, so let me put this all over my brand. Maybe that could be that. But I'm just talking about, the way you operate in your business, the way you interact with people, the way you do everything in your business. If that's not very specific to you right now, that's okay. Even if it's something as small as, I want people in my life to feel valued and empowered. Well, then make sure your daily life begins to reflect that. Passion fuels motivation and innovation. There's an energy and creativity that comes with passion. It's indispensable to living a fulfilled life. One of my favorite quotes by Rory Vaden, he's huge in the productivity, time management space, wrote Take the Stairs, great book. Bottom line, he says, you make a living from the problem that you solve, our business. You make a life from the passion that you chase. It's exactly what we're talking about here. All right. Customers, when you're this way, they can sense the authenticity. This creates trust and loyalty. Authenticity is everything when it comes to building trust. When someone is real with you, when you feel that you can be real with them, this is the difference maker. Like Jonathan, I thought we were talking about business. No, customers, they love that. Sales 101. Forget all the FAQs and everything else. I mean, all that stuff is good. But if they just feel like you're fake, who cares what you're saying? That's why we always talk about the used car salesman. They're like the fakest of them all. I mean, they're not, you get it. I love used car salesmen, but bottom line, if that makes a difference. So I want to attach an action to this. And I promise you the other ones won't be as long as this one. But here's a very important question. What am I going to do as a result of this? Well, if this resonates with you a lot, I have some suggestions. There's other things you can do, of course, but a great action you can start doing is, number one, let's be really clear on what your core passion is. I'm not going to do a 10-step presentation right now on how to identify that. Maybe part 2 another time. If enough of you message my boss and tell him you really like this call, maybe we'd have part 2. Otherwise I'll get fired, actually. But okay, step 1, identify your core passions. You've got to, if you don't know what they are, you can't focus on them. You can't live them out. And some of us, we may have an idea. Some of us may not. But you just got to start thinking about it. And that's just the small things. It doesn't have to be something crazy. You can be passionate about something small and let that grow into something more. Number 2, just share it with someone close to you. Just start with that. When was the last time you told someone, hey, I'm passionate about blank? I'll say that in the office sometimes for really stupid things. Sometimes they'll hear me rant about something. Man, I'm passionate about customer service. This person did this. Maybe it's not the best context, but yeah, I checked that box. Okay, I promise. But seriously, when was the last time you told someone, hey, this is really important to me. No, I'm passionate about this. Well, take note of that. And if you're not saying it, what would you say that about? Okay, let's go into regret number 2. Oh shoot, I totally forgot I put this quote here. This is so good. This is 100% in line with what we're talking about. Your time is limited. So don't waste it living someone else's life. All right, I wanted to let that sink in a little bit.
One thing I would like to add to that, and this is something that, I'm a younger person, I'm an unmarried person. And one thing that I had to realize is that the life that I'm living right now, as I wait to have a certain amount of money or be able to take those vacations or be able to get married, the life that I'm living right now, waiting for those things, is still my life. Like, you can't constantly be waiting until your business hits that revenue and that have those goals, be actively pursuing that. But don't forget that the life that you're living on the way to that goal is still your life. You have to have things that are inspiring you. You have to have things that you're looking forward. You have to celebrate the little tiny wins, and you got to appreciate the progress. I'm somebody who can get down on myself. One thing that I like to remind myself of is that progress can feel like failure when you're in the middle. And that's a myth. That's something that you cannot buy into. Even if you're not at that goal yet, you're not where you're wanting to be, it doesn't mean that it's not worth celebrating where you came from. It doesn't mean that it's not worth celebrating those small things or having a reward. You got to really embrace that the life that you're on right now, when you're in the middle of the journey or where you're maybe not where you're wanting to be, it's still your life. You've got to enjoy it. Phil, Minnesota is one of my favorite examples of this because he knows how to have work-life balance. He takes flying lessons. He makes sure that he has time to be up in his plane. He still works in his business. He goes ice fishing in the winter. He lives in Minnesota. And in fact, and Phil, if you want to testify to this, I think you are on this call. When I took over his account, I was real panicked. It was the middle of winter, and I'm like, I need to get this guy leads. It's the middle of winter, and he's a gutter guy in Minnesota. And so, work is not happening. He was like, Nicole, I'm not worried about it, so you shouldn't be worried about it. I want to go ice fishing. I prepared the whole summer to be able to do this right now. And I thought, what a beautiful thing. That is a man whose business is working for him instead of him working for it. He is knowing, even though he might not be where he wants to be, he is still taking the time to enjoy currently.
Huge. Absolutely. Man, I love that. That was great.
That is a true story.
The thumbs up from Phil. Nicole's not lying.
Not
Yes.
like.
You know, I love the poster you sent here, Phil, with the fish and the shark fin. That's great. Mindset is everything. Love it. Absolutely. Well, you know, here's the second regret. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. So, you know, this doesn't have anything to do with, you know, I wish I didn't work, or I wish I never worked more than a 40-hour work week of my life. This has more to do with, you know, the finding the balance between working and living. Like, why didn't you say work-life balance? Because everybody says that. I'm not going to use that word. Okay. So it's about not sacrificing your well-being. That's what's important here. It's, you know, for the sake of the customer or your business. I'm sorry, there's a time in my life, not in my life, there are times where, hey, I've dedicated this time doing a certain activity with family, so forth. I get a phone call. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. From one of you guys, I ignored it. Why? Because it wasn't an emergency, because I told you to text me if it was an emergency. Bottom line, if there is something important, you know, I'm taking care of it. I promise I'm a good coach. But this has to do with finding the balance and taking care of yourself, not sacrificing yourself for the sake of important, you know, sacrificing everything and dropping everything, what's important to you. So one way I like to say this, well, we just talked about is, you know, I wish I hadn't sacrificed my well-being for the sake of my business. You know, as a business owner, if I were to rephrase that, that's what I would call it. So what's important here is that we recognize that sustainable success requires taking care of yourself. You know, I know there's stories and people who talk about, you know, the really the exceptions of the pack sometimes talk about working day and night, never stopping and so forth. And, you know, they have succeeded despite not taking care of themselves, not because they didn't take care of themselves. So if you're not taking care of yourself, you have to do it. Next thing is, here we go. We want to set clear boundaries to prevent work from overwhelming your personal life. You know, disconnect to recharge. You know, I want to acknowledge this. I know the business life, the entrepreneur life, the business owner life is intense. It's like, Jonathan, you make that sound really easy. Yeah, well, at least work towards that. You know, it doesn't have to be tomorrow, but work towards that. There are different seasons of hard work in life, but they need to last for a season, not for life. So there are times when you're pulling the all-nighters, and it's a must. There are times when you're working 24/7 for a few weeks straight, and that's okay as long as it's not forever. It's a season, and you've accepted that. But let's not get so caught up in the whirlwind that we think that's just what life is. So we've got to start working towards how are we going to set this up so I can do this for the long haul, so that I don't hate myself at the end, so I don't regret this on my last moments. Here's some good actions. I'm going to throw this out here. Ask yourself, does my schedule currently have time for rest? Spending time with the people you care about, recharging, something, you know, you're looking forward to. You know, I've had my own boss, Robert. He's checked in sometimes like, hey, Jonathan, are you taking time to recharge? Are you taking care of yourself? You know, sometimes we can be in coaching mode all day, just pouring out, but never pouring in. Are you taking time? I was like, well, and he said, don't answer that. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's important. Next action to really, if I'm not just saying ask yourself, yeah, that's a good thought. Okay, no, write it down if you're serious about this right now, and take some time and ask yourself some before the next time you schedule something. I guess that's the next plan. Action here is plan your week before it starts and ask yourself that question every time, every week, no matter what. Hey, I noticed the last 4 times I did this, I was very busy because that's just what the projects required me to do. And now I'm realizing that it's not changing. Okay, now we got to start thinking about that. Let's be aware of that. Let's start working towards that. Once again, each one of these regrets could be their own full 1 hour call, but we unfortunately just don't have the time for that today. I'm sorry. All right, here's the next one. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Wow, it's like, Jonathan, I only talk about that with my therapist. Well, hey, that's a good start. That's okay. Why are you talking about this? I guess that's what I was saying. So this doesn't mean you're hyper emotional or weak. You know, I know we have a lot of men on the call. Being open, vulnerable, honest actually requires strength, not weakness. Can I get an amen? Yeah, there you go. I saw some mouths moving. It actually requires strength. You know, it's kind of funny to call it vulnerable sometimes, because it's like that almost means weak, but it actually requires strength to do so. So just keep that in mind. I'm more impressed by someone's vulnerability than their ability to pretend everything is perfect. You know, I'm trying not to go off in too many stories, so let's move on to the next point. All right. This means you're in the habit of letting people know where you're at, especially when it's important. I'm not just talking about the moment where someone kind of shakes their head and says, well, let me just tell you what I think. I'm not talking about those moments. I'm talking about just being honest. There are pivotal moments in life and in business. Maybe expectations have fallen short. Maybe there's disappointment. Maybe there's unspoken expectations. Maybe there's regret, or even positive moments like appreciation. Man, I wish I taken the time to appreciate people more in my life. Appreciate moments. When these moments are expressed and communicated to those around you, you begin building authentic relationships. That's everything. You've got to have, a relationship is only as good as the authenticity behind it. Stop going through the journey alone and start reaching out to those around you. It's okay to ask for help. Surround yourself with people who are on your side. Well, at least you got Redmond Growth. That's, we want to be there for you, and that's part of what we do. We're on your side. We want to see you win. Here's the action for regret number 3. Well, that too. When you're frustrated, when you plateau, when you feel that what you're doing just isn't enough, talk to somebody about it. A friend, a family member, your coach, a call, whether it's a call or an in-person conversation or a quick text. Make it happen. Make it happen. Make it happen. It's okay. And when I say a quick text, I mean more of a text to initiate a conversation. Hey, when's a good time to just quickly call you? Don't talk over text. That's the lowest form of communication. I've told some of my clients this. It's like, you don't address issues over text ever. Relationships 101. Never text about important things ever. Murphy's Law was created for this. If there's a way to misunderstand a text, it will be misunderstood 100% of the time. I know some of you are thinking about, man, that ex-boyfriend or girlfriend back in the day. Oh, shoot. I wish they just, yeah. Okay. We don't need to go there. All right. I got Caden here in my office, and I'm lucky to hear his chuckle every once in a while. It makes me feel good. Okay. All right. Regret number 4. I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. It's like, Jonathan, I feel like most of these you're able to tie into business pretty well. This one, I'm just not seeing it. Well, give me a chance here. So, really what this is about here is it's not overlooking relationships in the business. Another way to say this is, I wish I had nurtured relationships along my entrepreneurial journey. You had a relationship, but you let it go because it wasn't convenient. You weren't seeing them every day anymore. That's bottom line. what it is. You know, well, I used to see that employee all the time, but now they're not in the office as much, or they're in the field all the time, and don't, whatever. Well, just notice that. Don't neglect personal relationships. And I mean, by personal, I mean just any relationship. You know, it's if it's somebody you care about, then it's personal. You know, nurture these connections. Don't let them hang dry. You know, how many valuable relationships have you lost due to inconvenience? Well, I just don't see them anymore. Well, we don't go hang out and do this thing anymore. You know, if your relationship is only as good as the convenience there is to see them, then what relationship value is there? I'm laughing because the reaction in the office that nobody can hear, and it's distracting me. So, you know, that's and I'm preaching this to myself as well. You know, one of so a lot of you know Harley in here. Man, he is amazing at this. He will schedule time with you. Even though I don't see him as much as I used to, he will schedule time. Jonathan, when's the next time we can do this? Well, eventually. All right, what about next week? Saturday morning, be there. Okay, sure. Wow, man, you care about me? Thank you. All right. You've got to create an authentic and collaborative work environment. You know, this doesn't mean it doesn't have to be, you know, the cookout with the team. I mean, it can, that's a great thing, but just find reasons to start one-on-one conversations with your team. You know, not about the last project or service call or anything like that, but just getting personal. Just, hey, how have you been? You know, engaged employees contribute more passionately and become ambassadors of your brand. Have you ever like had an employee just like, wow, they are into their brand? Any businesses that come into mind? You hired someone or you went somewhere like, man, they are way too into this. I have one in mind, but if no one has one in mind, I'll give you the answer. Okay. Well, Chick-fil-A. Every one of them. You think there's a cult behind there or something. I don't know. All I'm saying is they drill it in. I mean, people are there. They are consistent. They do it the way they stick with it. You know, no one's ever told me my pleasure and kind of rolled their eyes at me. They're always into it. Like, my pleasure. I'm like, wow, you guys are, no matter where I am, you're doing that. You know, Southwest Airlines, every time I'm with them, they're all 100% the most nice people I've ever talked to, and they're all funny and they're all into it. That's not by accident. That's not by accident. Okay. You can do this as well. So, you know, I have a client even asked me, he asked me, I asked them one time and he said, hey, why don't you ask me that every month moving forward? At the start of every month, I asked them, hey, how are we doing on creating a close-knit community? And we've been clients for over 3 years. And he doesn't just answer that every time. He go, oh, good, next. No, he's taking the time to really think about it. And he goes, well, yeah, I think we've been pretty good. You know, maybe we should schedule more, or maybe I should call so-and-so. Okay, great. But just have something in your life that's checking in on you like that, whether it's your coach or somebody else or something else. You know, if you have a robot who can do that for you, then, you know, pretty soon AI is taking over the world. I'm sure that'll be a thing. So, all right. Here's a good action for that. Plan activities that promote genuine interaction among your employees. Set aside quality time to connect with your family and friends. I think I have a third point on here, but I don't know what it was. Oh yeah, this is great. You know, give someone a random check-in call. And here's the requirement. You're not asking for anything. When was the last time you called a friend or an employee or anybody and they're like, why are you calling me? It's like, oh, I just wanted to check in with you. Like, how are you doing? What's up? It's like, okay, what do you really need? No, really, like if that's a reaction and that's not happening enough, you know, I know with family, I can do that. Maybe I should be able to do it with more people. Maybe I should just call Bryce up one day. I know he'd love that. I just go, hey, what's up? He's like, all right, what did you need exactly? You know, that needs to happen more often, just to check in. I'm not talking about a 30-minute conversation. I mean, it can be, but you get this. Just showing that you're thinking about somebody goes a long ways, and just not asking for a favor. Maybe ask them what you can do for them if you want. All right, we're gonna go through the last one. Regret 5. I wish that I'd let myself be happier. You know, these terminally ill patients living their last days, and suddenly they realize they simply could have allowed themselves to be happier. That's all it took. They realized, wow, I could have just let myself be happier. You know, sorry, I have a note on here. I have no idea what it means, but it's great. You know, that's key. And here's what's important is not everything needs to be perfect or even close to it. In fact, everything can be awful. It's harder, but it's still possible. Everything can be difficult, but let's start celebrating small moments, big achievements, enjoying the moment. Here's a cool fact. You can't smile and complain at the same time, unless you're a psycho. We've all seen those moments. It's like, okay, I'm gonna walk the other way and we're probably never gonna talk again because that was really weird. But you can't smile and complain at the same time. Let's notice how often we complain about things. I'm not talking about the big moments, the little things. Maybe you talk to someone, you walk away, and now you're just complaining about what they said. And it's like, well, just get over it. Stop looking for things to be upset about. You know, the country, the economy, everything. Stop trying to, start smiling. The business, everything, employees. I'm not saying you're not allowed to want things to change, but let's stop complaining. It's stealing your joy. Do something
I
about it.
I say this to clients all the time because sometimes we can get fixated on things like the economy or political things, or it's like your life would be so much happier and less stressful if we didn't give any space in our minds to the things that we have no control over. We have no control over what the economy is going to do. You know, we don't know how it's going to impact your business or your area. Don't worry about it. Don't let that there are a lot of other things that are in your control to stress about. Let's focus on those things that we have control over. Don't give any brain space to those things that you do not have control over. And then one thing that I think kind of goes in line here is you can't complain about the things that you tolerate. And so if you do have an employee that is constantly a energy suck to you, to other people in the office, it's the one you're constantly complaining about. Maybe they're a kick-ass carpenter, so you don't want to get rid of them, but you hate being around them. They are a downer for the rest of the team. Either don't complain about it and accept what it is, or change the narrative. Get rid of them, replace them, lay down the law, have a come to Jesus meeting with them of how things are going to have to change. You know, I do not complain about what you are unwilling to do something about. If it's in your control, let's give it brain space. But think to yourself, is this something that I'm just complaining about to complain, or is this something that I'm actually going to have the intention to change? Your life will be a lot easier.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right as you started that, you stole the words out of my mouth at the end there. If you don't have control over it, don't complain about it. It is what it is. On the other side of that, if you do have control about it, shut up and do something about it. I hope I didn't offend anybody because I said shut up, but we all know that I'm really aggressive in the office with my my words of choice. Okay, so cultivate a culture of celebration within your business. What does that mean? Just we do it all the time for a reason. You may be sick of it. Maybe like 1% of the time I'm sick of it. No, but you got to celebrate just big, small wins, milestones. Just recognize effort you and your team invest in reaching your goals. If you don't even have a result to recognize, notice effort. That means a lot to people. Man, I know we fell short on this, but you guys put it all in and let's keep that up. I really like that. Would you rather get great results by accident or fail putting a whole lot of effort into it? Man, just flowing here. That was good. No. All right. Man, I have not let any time for the breakout rooms, but let's do this last part here. What action are we going to take? Guys, let's give yourself a complaint audit. What does that mean? Truly ask yourself, check in, maybe go a whole day. If you dare, go a whole week, putting a tally every time you catch yourself complaining about something, audibly and in your mind, every time. I haven't done it. Maybe I should. I'd be curious. Just man, so and so is just, or this and that, just something, negative thoughts, and just kind of letting it linger. Just stop it. Tally it. You'll notice if you could get that tally from about 100 down to 10, how much happier you'll be. How much, and it's just a choice. That's what's amazing about it. There's no $1 million trick here or some, it's not about anything material. It's all about just a choice that you make right now. It's very simple, yet it's the simple things that are sometimes the most difficult. So give yourself a complaint audit. Literally do it. I challenge you. Do it for one day. Oh my, I was gonna say something, but I putting the filter on it. Okay. Recognize wins in your business and life. Recognize it. You got to look for it sometimes. If you have had a lens over your eyes that have been very negative, it's hard to notice the positive. So really, get yourself a new lens. Ask yourself, man, what can I find? What's going well? Even if it's it's cliche, but even if it's, man, I got a roof over my head, but say it and truly be happy about it. You can't say it sarcastically. You got to really be happy about it. So just start recognizing wins in your business and life. Next thing is just set achievable milestones. Small things, big things. Make a big deal when you achieve them, when your team achieves them. Even just personally, write down goals, write down your milestones, write down where you want to be. But it's not even about achieving the goal. It's about how close you got to it. It's about exceeding it. It's about who you became in the process. So just let yourself be happier. I think that's the last slide. Yeah, we're good. Here's a quick summary here. Not pursuing passion is a way I like to just describe that first one. Neglecting well-being, not seeking help, overlooking relationships, not celebrating wins. 9 minutes. Should we have a couple comments here or do the breakout room?
I honestly think it might be nice to maybe unshare the screen, and just if anybody has some like comments or questions or even like feedback, I think that might work out best for this kind of call.
I love it.
All for it.
Yeah.
Can you guys share the slides, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
That's
they are
on the
on.
inventory.
Yep,
Yeah,
on that
in the-
spreadsheet.
Yep.
Just don't go in there making edits. All right.
Can't anyway, but
Well, if you have a comment or question, just please interrupt and go for it. But here's bottom line when it comes down to any of these specific regrets, you're thinking, man, that one resonates the most with me. I've got to work on this. If I were to it sounds like an altar call now. If I were to die right now, what would I regret? What would be the deepest regret, of these five, and just quickly reiterate, because I know we went through a lot. I wish I had courage to live a life true to myself. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Wish I had stayed in touch with my friends, and I wish I'd let myself be happier. Any of those, go for it.
Jonathan, I would like to add.
Yes.
I think sometimes we get busy with our day-to-day lives to think about how hard we might be truly working to truly enjoy everything that we have in our lives. So that's kind of what came to my mind when you had said that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really good. That's really good. Thanks for sharing that.
Is there anything that you might be doing differently based on this call? Is anybody thinking I'm going to schedule this, or I'm going to reach out to blank, or I'm going to stop doing this? If you're bold enough to tell us, I would love for you to unmute and just let us know, what are you going to do differently, if anything?
I was just gonna say something too. Well, me and my husband, we talk a lot about the work-life balance, and because especially for him, I'm home with the kids and I have to schedule around homeschooling and play dates and things like that. But it's at least I'm spending a lot of time with the kids. But my husband, he's out on the road every single day from early in the morning until after dinner time. And then on Saturdays, he's out doing estimates, and then he's in the garage writing up estimates the rest of the night. And we're really trying to get to the point where every Sunday is just a family day, and we don't think about the business. We talk about the business, but we just don't do anything for the business on Sundays. We try our best, but it's really hard. It's so hard because it just feels like a 24/7, there's always something to do. Our to-do list is always so long, and we're trying to grow, and it feels like a constant 24-hour job.
Yeah. Have those hard stops and don't feel freaking guilty about it. Don't feel guilty about it, Laura. Have the hard stops. And then what I see that doing is when you have those rigid, this is my hard stop where I'm stopping today, not Sunday. When you have those rigid hard stops, tend to be more productive because I've got to get stuff done within this time so that I can have that hard stop, I can honor it, and I can be fully present during that dedicated time to my family or even to myself. We work for a family-owned business. A lot of our clients work with their spouse or a family member. I would also really encourage not letting work stuff bleed into your guys's date nights, bleed into your dinners, bleed into your getting ready for bed, your routine. Even if I have one client where they have a dedicated night each week that they call, and I am going to curse here, they call it their bitch night, where they literally after work, they go to happy hour and they're a married couple and they just vent about work. And it's not a time for solutions. It's not a time for growth. It is really a time just to bitch, to let it out, to make, because you kind of feel relief once you get it off. And we're not trying to solve anything. We're not mad at each other. We're just bitching. And then we make sure that doesn't bleed out of that happy hour. That's our dedicated time. And then after that, we go home, and that is our happy place. That is our way. That's our time outside of the work. And so just have those hard stops. Be stubborn about it. And don't feel guilty. Don't feel like, oh, but if we spent Sundays working, maybe we could grow quicker. The business is meant to serve you. Who cares how fastly you could grow if you work Sundays if you're miserable the whole time? Just get stubborn about it.
That was great. That was great.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that complaining session.
Yes. Yes. Go to
preview.
happy hour. Vent. Don't let it don't let it leave there.
One thing I plan to implement is celebrating wins and stop being so negative, because as a perfectionist, it's easy to get wrapped up into that. So
Yes. Celebrate the progress. Don't always be so focused on the things that need to change and where we're headed that we forget the progress we're making and where we've come from.
Absolutely.
All right. We've got a couple minutes left here. Any final thoughts, concern, grievances, comments?
Anybody want to brag about something they know they're not going to regret? Man, I've been intentional about this. I am glad I am. It's one or the other. You can't like, it's, if you're here, raise your hand. If you're not, don't, everyone's going to raise their hand for something. So
it might seem real small to everybody else, but I'm really glad that I'm able to say what's on my mind most of the time, just not to customers. I'll usually vent to Phil.
Yes. Yes, and there is power in that. There is power. And I'm sure Phil is a man who appreciates no BS, and so I'm sure he is grateful for that. But I like the note that you said. With customers, we do have to sugarcoat a little bit. But have that person that you can just be candid to.
absolutely. There are ways to express true feelings with some velvet on it. There are ways.
Yeah. You're never going to regret pursuing passions. You're never going to regret that time you spend with family. You're never going to regret taking care of your health. Like just make sure that you schedule that time, you honor it, because that's going to allow you to be your best person for the business too. When you're prioritizing those things, it's going to allow you to be your best when you are present in the business. Well, Rudy is actually the one that closes down our staff meetings. He is our cheerleader over there. He does the big 3, 2, 1 growth. And so I'm going to let him lead. But if I could get everybody to unmute for me, I know it might feel cheesy, but we're going to do it anyways. So if you could unmute, Bryce, you're muted. Bryce, unmute right now, man. Okay. Rudy, I'll let you close us out here.
All right, everybody unmute. I'm looking at the screen. I see you. James, I know you're looking for that mute button. Oh, there, you found it. All right. Justin, I'll give you grace on this one because he's on the phone. All right, we're going to say growth on 3. That's 1, 2.